Welcome to Trust Talk. Joining us today is Jan van der Spoel, the author of 360 Degrees Trust. His approach, known as the Trust Compass, can elevate ordinary relationships into high-trust ones. During our interview, Jan discusses his background in graphic design and how his fascination with human behavior led him to explore the concept of trust. He also shares how he created his own tools to better understand the challenges of achieving a consensus on trust. Jan then goes on to outline the top 3 things that organizations can do to foster team spirit through trust: intent, system, and power balance. He stresses that all 3 are critical in building a team that trusts one another. Furthermore, he explains that control is the antithesis of trust and details how organizations can transition from a culture of control to a culture of trust. Jan recommends providing employees with professional freedom and setting clear expectations instead of micromanaging them, as studies show that this approach can be more effective in motivating employees than having a task-based manager watching over their shoulders. Your host today, Severin de Wit.
Jan, thank you for being our guest today for Trust Talk. In preparation for our interview, we had a conversation in which you mentioned that you are writing a book, 360 Degrees Trust. Any progress?
Yes, well, I'm in the final stages, going back and forth with the publisher and the editor. I still hope to have it ready by May this year, so it's really an exciting time to have the final dot the I's and cross the T's.
Looking forward to it, Jan. Maybe a related question is about your 360 Degrees Trust Compass, which you developed. It is an approach to transform ordinary relationships into high trust relationships. Can you tell us a bit more about that, and what does it do better to understand the role of trust?
Well, I have a background as a graphic designer and a creative director. In 2015, I stopped doing that work and switched over because I got fascinated by human behavior and the question, why do people do what they do? I was working with a sentence. People say what they think, what they do, what they feel. And I use this sentence to explain the irrationality of human behavior. And in 2019, this sentence became a deeper question for me during the preparation of a speech. And I was provoked to dive deeper in what that means. We say something and we do something. And the distance between what you say and what you do, when the distance is too large, there's less trust. It impacts trust.
You told me that you listened to a well-known trust thinker, Simon Sinek, who said the part of the brain that controls decision-making has no capacity for language. You told me it strengthened your fascination, as you just referred to, with human behavior and trust. Maybe this is a good reason for going into that behavioral interest a little bit.
Exactly, because that sparked it as first. In 2011, I saw this video of him about the golden circle. Why do people do what they do, and how can you get a better grip on this? That fascinated me, and especially how can you influence relationships, because that was what I was having to deal with in my work as a creative director. So when the topic of trust surfaced, I was fascinated by it, and I thought, well, I have to buy a book about the consensus about trust. How does it work? But as you explained in different podcasts eloquently, there is no consensus about trust. And when that came to me, my instinct as a designer was, okay, I have to have a grip on it myself. How does it build? What do you do when you lose it? I bought a lot of books, listened to podcasts, tried to get my hands on as much research as possible. And I noticed all these little differences, because when politicians or people in political science write about trust, they have a different angle than the economics or the philosophers or behavioral science people. So all these different angles confused me more than it gave me tools to actually have a better grip on trust.
Jan, if I were to twist your arm a bit and want a shorthand answer, and an answer that's robust in terms of being underpinned by scientific evidence on the question, what are the 3 top to-dos for any organization to create a team spirit through trust. What would you say?
So I have designed this model with 6 principles, and every principle exists of 4 aspects. In total, we have 24 aspects that influence trust in every relationship. And you can ask 24 questions, and the answers will tell you the quality of the relationship. So for this question, I will pick 3 aspects that will create a better team spirit through trust. And the first one is intent. So what is the intent of the team? What is the purpose of the team, and what is the intent? Intent is extremely important to get your people in the right direction. The second one is what method, what system do you use? System has to do with structure. We need structure to feel safe and to understand what's expected of a team. And the third one is the power balance. Because whenever there's a difference of power within a team, people start behaving differently. It's a fascinating research by Dacher Keltner. As soon as someone gets a position of power over someone else, his behavior and his moral values change. So those 3 elements, intent, what method you use, what system you use, and how to deal with the power balance, are crucial to build a team that really, really trust each other.
You said the opposite of trust is not distrust, but control. The more you feel the need to control someone, the less trust there is in that relationship. So how can organizations shift from a culture of control to a culture of trust? And what are the benefits? Can you share some examples of companies that have successfully made this transition?
Well, when you think about it, when you have to get work done through demand and control, you constantly have to tell others what to do. You have to do this, and you'd have to do it like this, and I'm going to check you up on it. And it takes the energy out of everything and everyone in the room. But when you say, well, this is what I expect of you, and I expect of you by the end of the month or by the end of the week, and I give you your professional freedom to do it in a way you think is best. Science has proven that motivates people much more than having a task-based manager watching over your shoulder and telling you what to do and how to do it. Being able to do your work as you think is best gives you much more energy. And if you look at an extremely interesting example, it's the story of David Marquette. David Marquette was the captain of a submarine. And when he was studying, he noticed the difference between being told what to do and getting the freedom to explore technology. And he experienced the energy he got when he had the opportunity to explore the periscope with a team of sonar specialists. And he was excited when he got the freedom to explore this. But he also noticed the contrast between the other days when he was really told what to do and how to do it. So later, when he became the commander of a submarine, he was thinking of different leadership methods to actually create this kind of experience. And he developed a method that's later called intent-based leadership. And he transformed the worst performing submarine into the best performing submarine within 1 year without giving a single command.
Leaders, whether they are in business or politics or in the military, like you just mentioned, often refer to leadership as the ability to get things done. This may be more of a question of management, not necessarily leadership. So what is the difference between the two, and why is it important for individuals in leadership roles to understand this difference?
Well, exactly how you say it. Leadership, in my view, has nothing to do with getting things done, but how you behave. Because getting things done is a managerial aspect. It's what you have to produce at the end of the day. But leadership is how you behave. Leadership is behaving in a way people want to follow you. And you cannot point to people in your company and say, you have to follow me, because that's telling people what to do. And behaving in a way that people want to follow you That means that you have to be inspiring, that you have to have a clear vision. Where do you want to go? Again, the intent, where do you want to go? Do you actually see and hear your people? Those are very important aspects to inspire people to come along with you. And it also has to do with the changed narrative of getting stuff done in the past in companies and in the future, because the millennial people don't want to be told what to do. They want to be inspired. So when society has changed, people have changed, so this has to change as well. And that's why leadership behavior is really behave in a way that people want to follow you.
Another important part of leadership is standing up for those who have been harassed or marginalized within an organization. How can leaders cultivate a culture of respect and inclusivity within their teams or even political parties? And what role does trust play in that process?
Well, trust is a result. You behave in a certain way and people perceive trust. In my research, I came across the principle, what I call instinct and identification. And this is extremely an important area because it tells you what happens in your brain. When we meet someone, within a fraction of a second, our brain has designed a value about the other person. It's instinctive. And the annoying part of it, that's very bias driven. And research has shown that we are attracted faster and higher when we meet people from our own species. Color of our skin, where we come from, and even if we are man or woman. So we are attracted, white men are attracted more faster and trust other white men faster than people of other different colors. And even women. White men trust men faster and higher than women. So what happens, and this all happens in your brain. So if you look at the full discussion of inclusivity, the biases happen in our brain and we have to consciously override that bias. Because if we don't do it, we hire the wrong people. We only hire white men in our companies. And we look at people that we don't know or look different than us. Because the instinctive trust is less, we hire those people less. So you don't have inclusive teams. So overruling your instinct is extremely important in this case. And that will help you to build inclusive teams.
Jan, I would like to talk with you a bit about Hanlon's razor. I have to admit that when starting this interview, I even hadn't heard about it, but it's summarized by the following quote: "Never attribute to malice, which can be adequately explained by neglect, ignorance, or incompetence." As an example of Hanlon's razor in relation to trust and work is when a colleague makes a mistake or fails to deliver on a task. Instead of assuming that the colleague is intentionally trying to cause problems or is incompetent, Hanlon's razor suggests that it is better to assume that the mistake was made due to a lack of understanding, miscommunication, or other intentional reasons. Do you recognize that?
Yes. So what it says basically is when someone makes a mistake or repeatedly makes a mistake, but his intentions are good, you might not lose trust with him. But that's within the Hanlon's razor, that's true. But in my definition of trust, it's not. When someone repeatedly behaves in a certain way that bothers you, that doesn't connect with your values, you lose trust anyway. For instance, when someone is getting late as a pattern, so not once or twice, but constantly late, you don't like people being late, you don't trust him to be on time anymore. And that's the interesting part, because losing trust has nothing to do with malicious intent. It has to do with very simple things as well.
Jan, I always conclude interviews by asking my guests what he or she sees as the future challenges in the thinking about trust. So I'm asking you the same question to conclude our interview. What are your thoughts about the future challenges in thinking about trust?
Well, my future challenge about thinking about trust is a foundation I'm going to start because I'm worried about trust in societies worldwide. And that's why I want to found a new principle. It's analog on the economic metric GDP, gross domestic product. And I want to design a new system that measures trust in the world, and it's called gross domestic trust. This will enable governments, politicians, large organizations to actually measure and control and influence trust during large and complex projects.
Well, that's pretty clear. Is it actually also a subject that you will be covering in your new book?
Yes.
Well, looking forward to it, Jan. Jan, thank you very much for being our guest today, and wish you good luck with your finalizing stage of the publication of your new book. We all look forward to it and add it to our reading list of everything that has been written already on trust. So we look forward. Thank you very much again, and hope to talk to you later.
Thank you for having me. You had a very respectable list of people that were on your podcast, so I'm honored to be here.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Trust Talk. We hope that you found the conversation valuable and informative. At Trust Talk, we believe in the power of trust to create positive change in the world. If you believe in our mission, we would greatly appreciate your support. You can help keep Trust Talk going by making a donation on our website at trusttalk.co/donate. Every contribution, no matter how small, helps us to continue bringing you thoughtful and engaging podcasts. Thank you for your support and for listening to Trust Talk. We look forward to meeting you again for future episodes.